They're actually lab made. There's been proof of this too.
I'm sorry. Ducks are lab made?
Yeah. No, I said certain animals and creatures.
We're not talking about certain animals. We're talking about ducks.
Ducks. See, that's the thing. Theory. Ducks. Damn. Then I couldn't think about it. I never seen a duck with another duck actually doing it. Like how you.
That's because female ducks try not to have sex with male ducks because it's essentially rape, like every time.
Yeah, viciously.
Wow. How is it rape? Wait, so how do they multiply and procreate if that would be considered rape?
Well, they have to grape to procreate. That's the thing.
Man.
So the question is, why did your God make duck penises look like that?
I mean, each different creature has different uniqueness with the structure, So I guess.
Wait, that's not the question I'm asking. I want you to focus on the question I'm asking. Why did your God make duck, not other creatures? We're just talking about ducks. Yeah. Why did he make duck penises look like corkscrews?
Well, that's due to the fall.
I think maybe it's because that was what was designated for the ducks. Like that's how they were going to be made, And it's unfortunate. That's how they are.
But why? I mean, God's all powerful.
I'm saying, see, we're going too much on a deep answer. Like, why? That's like me saying, look, why did you make rain? Why did you make grass? Why did you make the sun?
As I said, CoCo, duck penis argument is undefeated. He's now talking about why did we make grass?
No, I'm saying that like you going towards like a rhetorical wanna be understanding of things. I'm saying they were made like that. They're just how they were made, and that's their thing. And
Yes, but you would say that God is the creator, and God would have created everything with a plan, right? He would have created things with some form of intelligent design. He didn't just snap his fingers and everything randomly showed up. He knew and designed ducks
what he was doing. Yeah,
to have a penis like that.
So I'm saying, why do you feel like? Do you think anything's wrong with the ducks? You think it should just look like how a dog or
I think that designing an animal to which the typical way that they procreate is by raping their other counterpart is probably not good design.
How do you know that they're being raped? Is what I'm trying to understand.
Because they try to run away.
That design flaw is from the fall. Ducks weren't like that.
Ducks are like that because of the fall of humanity.
That's right.
So God punished ducks because humanity.
No, why are you playing? Why do you think that snake's still crawling on his fucking belly?
No, there's no way. So the duck was there with the snake. The duck was chilling with the snake, and the duck.
No, you idiot! You're trying to mix stuff that's not being said.
Wait! Listen to the host.
Yeah. So, given what was said, I'd like to even engage with that because, that's also one of my arguments, against God. God is defined to be just, and besides the fact that Adam and Eve committed this sin and all the descendants after have to pay the price for their parents. And that's to me, crazily unjust in and of itself. Let's talk about animals, right? Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? And you have these animals that don't have the same level of consciousness as Adam and Eve. They made no choices. They weren't involved in anything that Adam and Eve had to do. And yet Adam and Eve made a wrong decision, and you're basically saying that God punished the animals and gave ducks duck penises and any other suffering that might occur to animals. And my question would just be how is that just for lesser beings to experience the punishment for what higher beings did?
Well, as we are lesser beings, we can't know what God's ultimate goodness and what his
listen, bro.
There's the apologetics. There's the apologetics. We can't know, so we can't.
But
so obviously.
Isn't it necessarily inclined that when God made everything, it was good, so therefore he thought ducks with duck penises were good?
No. The duck corkscrews are
you guys see the thing. That's the thing. You guys think that it's rape.
Can you kick this guy is crushing up?
Wait, hold on, Chocho. Go ahead, smartest.
Yeah, so duck corkscrew penises were a part of the fall. So they weren't originally created that way, but because of man's fall, all man and animals experience genetic entropy. And that's why you have those structures today. Though the structures are flawed, they're still irreducibly complex, which is actually...
No. Hold on. This is fine. Why after the fall did God decide to give ducks corkscrew penises? He still would have had to have done it.
Because of the just nature of God. He's ultimately just.
How is that just?
How is it just?
Yep.
Because of the fall.
Is it just for...
That's a circular... Hold on, Jewel, hold on. That was a circular answer. Can we get a non-circular answer?
Well, the reason why is because God is all good, so everything he does is good and just.
This is a circular answer. Can we please get a non-circular answer?
What do you mean a circular answer?
And to be honest, to be honest, with that answer that you gave, you're just affirming the conclusion.
Oh, look, every epistemological or metaphysical grounding is going to bottom out somewhere.
But
So when you ask why God does something, right? It's
and also, guys, you have to understand.
Hold on. Pause. 2x. But no, like, the thing in question is like, why should we believe that like God is good and just? When we look at his actions, we're not necessarily seeing justice here, right? Adam and Eve committed a consequence, and sure, let me say I can grant that it's somehow just for God to punish all of humanity. The animals had nothing to do with it. No animal ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and yet you have animals like, it's not even just ducks. I mean, like, we could talk about like cats and their spiked penises. But we could talk about,
you guys are just
30 different animals.
You guys
we're all part of God's creation,
bro. So it's hard to, you won't believe
ducks.
So,
wait, hold on. So like, humans made a mistake, punish humans. Animals are of a less consciousness, which I don't remember what your answer was.
Okay, hey, listen, let me tell you something.
Well, the way I look at it is that creation made a mistake, so all creation suffers.
Wait, it wasn't creation that made a mistake. It was Adam and Eve. The humans made mistakes.
Well, by creation, don't you think that... Like,
it wasn't even Adam and Eve that made a mistake. It was God that screwed Adam and Eve over by putting Satan in the garden.
Okay, so yeah, don't you think that humans and ducks are a part of creation?
I don't. So I would necessitate that, like,
yes,
humans,
but that doesn't necessitate. Oh,
listen, guys. Before humans were even created, the fallen angels and the Antichrist was already.
All right, can you kick this like Pentecostal guy out of here?
Wait, hold on.
You guys,
2x.
You're an idiot. That's agnostic and atheist.
Hold on, 2x. Just sit on the bench for a while. Let's discuss with smartest
nerd.
Hold up, 2x. If I put you on mute, please stay on mute until I ask you to come off.
We'll get back to you, 2x. Just hang tight for a sec. We're discussing with smartest.
I think you're necessitating that because of the conscious beings that God gave the ability of choice to. He is punishing the lesser conscious beings based upon their choice. You're saying that all of creation has to suffer when a true just God would only dole out punishments to those who are guilty.
Yeah, so that begs the question against God's ultimate justice. So, like, I could grant that, like, there's some kind of disintuition here from our feeble human genetic entropy riddled minds, but God is perfect and he has an ultimate plan. And if you had his knowledge, you would know why it is.
So duck penises are perfect and ultimate plan. Perfect.
Not trying to be God. You guys are stupid.
Hold on. 2x. Stop. Smartest. What's the proof that God is perfect?
What's the proof that God's perfect? That's just how he's defined.
Yeah.
Look, you're giving an a priori argument against God. I don't need to prove to you that God exists. I can do that, but that's stepping outside of the inference that you're giving.
Smartest. When Adam was born, did he have a belly button or no?
Yeah, he did.
Hold on. We don't got to do all that. But like,
I know. I mean, if he had a belly button, it means he came from a female, which means that God might most likely is feminine.
That's really silly. Look, you don't think that God could give Adam a belly button?
All the he stuff is crazy when life comes from females. That's all I gotta say about that.
Okay, that's a whole different argument. We're not talking about that. I want to stay focused and on track. Like, I don't want to start talking about fucking belly buttons. God damn. So I noticed there's something weird here that's being committed, right? Like, I think it's like it's an appeal to ignorance, like fallacy. Like, basically, you're saying like God's knowledge is above ours, so how could we possibly question God? But then also, like, you're trying to say that like somehow it's justice for God not only to punish the perpetrators, but to also punish like innocent parties that had like nothing to do with the crime. And maybe God has like this perfect sense of justice, but like for me, like, it's just not connecting. And I know that might be like an incredulity fallacy. So I could probably admit to that. Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not valid. But again, like, justice, at least how I define it, would be like you'd punish the person who committed the crime. God has like a tendency, a trend throughout the Old Testament to punish not only the violators, but to punish innocent parties as well. And like, I guess I'm asking, like, how is that even perfect justice?
Well, like, I am like you. I have a genetic entropy riddled mind. I can't tell you the answer to that. All I can know is that because the duck corkscrew penis is irreducibly complex, that God must exist.
Why is it irreducibly complex?
Yeah, that'd be the next question.
It's irreducibly complex because which came first, the corkscrew penis or the maize vagina?
I would argue probably the penis, because the vagina would had to adapt to the penis in order to reproduce.
Okay, but how could naturalism, right, evolve these irreducibly complex structures such that this genetic arms race could occur?
Probability.
I would say naturalism doesn't necessarily guarantee that these structures would be made, but at the same time, like I guess evolution is what we're talking about. Like, there's no guarantee that these like corkscrew penises would get made, but there was like a shit ton of mistakes, right? Like, everything that exists today is the 1% of animals that existed. Of course, like variables played into that, like natural selection. But 99% of species, if given everything evolution posits is true, have gone extinct. So given that like for billions of years, like animals are evolving and certain character traits didn't get passed on, like I don't see why it wouldn't be expected that like if God doesn't exist, naturalism is true, evolution is happening for billions and billions of years, there's going to be mistakes, and corkscrew penises just happen to be what survived all of the mistakes.
Well, wait a minute. That wouldn't be a mistake on your view, right? The corkscrew penis is not a mistake. It's an adaptation, right?
Yeah. The corkscrew penis is just like some kind of like genetic thing that derived from evolution, but there was a lot of mistakes that led up to it existing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, but look, maybe I should like step back. Like, how can sex, like male and female, evolve under evolution, given that a male and female is necessary to produce the offspring, right? How could you bootstrap that situation?
Not necessarily. Like,
No. I mean, I'm saying in sexually reproducing organisms, you need a male and a female, right? How do you bootstrap?
I would disagree.
Some animals
because
can do it by themselves. Some animals can be androgynous.
I'm not saying, look, all right, just pick like a shrew or something like that, right? They reproduce with a male and female. Right? Yeah. I'm not talking about like parthenogenesis or anything like that. How does something like that evolve naturally? Where you
so the very first organisms were like asexual, and then over time, like organisms are genetically mutating and getting like new
how does that
traits.
happen?
And then eventually you produce animals that need two partners to reproduce rather than
exactly. How does that happen?
It's a complexity issue. You need multiple complex beings to create.
Yeah, how does that happen? How do you go from asexual reproducing to sexual reproduction?
Evolution?
Genetic mutation. Yeah, genetic mutation and like change in the little frequencies.
Yeah, but look, like you understand that like for that to happen, you would need a male and a female just by random mutation.
You would have asexual creatures who would genetically mutate and their allele frequencies would change over time, and eventually they're going to give birth to a creature that has a penis and a creature that has a vagina.
Yeah, how is that probable or possible?
Genetic mutation and change in allele frequencies, different character traits.
So you're telling me that in one population, right, an asexual organism needs to evolve into a female and a male by chance.
When you say one population,
they need to be compatible such that all the structural things and all the biochemical things are compatible just by chance.
What do you mean by one population?
And not only does it have to happen by chance, they need to be close enough such that they can have sex.
Are you positing that like new traits or new types of reproduction couldn't derive from like evolution in billions of years?
Well, I'm not saying it's logically impossible. I'm saying that it seems extremely, extremely unlikely under naturalism, because here's what happens.
So how are you
need to have a population of asexual individuals, and just by chance in that same population, you need a male and a female to evolve. And just by blind chance, those structures and biochemical things, like the way that the sperm and the oocyte and all the millions of things that we're not aware of, need to just by chance, right, fit together like a perfectly interlocking puzzle with all the regulatory networks working together, such that a viable offspring can be produced.
I don't think it's by chance. I think there's a variety of things that could occur. Like you have these animals living in different like habitats, consuming different types of food, and evolving and mutating in different ways, right? Like I don't think it's by chance. You have like a huge data set, and like the possibilities are like,
well, it has to be by chance because it can't be an adaptation. The sexual product can't be an adaptation because natural selection doesn't have like a telos, right? It doesn't know what it's evolving towards.
Well, yeah.
It necessarily does, because adaptation is to provide a more suitable living condition for the future generations. That's what they're striving for.
Right, but how could it know that it's adaptive, right, to have
It
sexual...
You're arguing for
progeny.
something that doesn't have a mind to know something.
Yeah, I'm saying that like figuratively. How could it know? How could it be adaptive, right? What mechanism is there for it to be adaptive such that it would, quote unquote, know that the progeny, the sexual reproduced progeny,
I think
are
you're conflating the
adaptive?
term "know," and like I think that there is no
how can a natural
knowledge in
selection
this,
account
in this
for it?
problem.
Because it can't sense, right?
It doesn't
The
need to.
adaptation that's provided by. Well, okay, so how does it do it? That's the
Do you
question.
mind if I try and come in here? So,
Sure.
Real fast, how old are you, Crazy?
I am 35.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah. So here, like, first, smartest, these are really, really good questions, because the outside would ask, I don't know, this question exactly. I would think the most reasonable hypothesis for this would be like there would be periods of time where, as a species changes its reproductive strategy, and I would argue that doing so would be an example where you would have speciation, right? Like certain things can or cannot reproduce, like by budding or asexually, but in spaces where we do see differentiation, like male or female, the reason is during that transition, you likely had organisms that were like a part of the asexual reproduction. So, like, think cell splitting and mitosis, right? And they also evolved traits to have what would now be called like sexual reproductive ability. And it is possible that those would have had both or all, or like you can't argue that they wouldn't have any because they did live to reproduce, but they likely had the components to asexually reproduce and to then develop the organs later. So why this is like a valuable or has weight is because over time, the reason that this would become a strategy or something that would live on is that you can increase your diversity, right? If I'm just making clones of myself as a form of reproduction, all of us are subject to the same kinds of consequence. So like a single virus or a single like change in climate would be able to take us all out because we have the same like general traits. So the argument is that after that mutation or whatever happened, then it was just a series of iteration and refinement over and over, and we are left with the results of the successful reproductive strategies. Because there are other things in like biology too. It sounds like you know a bit about it, but like there are some strategies where it's like, okay, and this is kind of like what insects do, for example. It's like we're just gonna fertilize a bunch of like eggs, we're gonna have a jillion babies, and whichever ones survive make it through. Others, more like mammals, right, like have long gestation periods. It takes a ton of energy. The mother is at risk.
That's granted, man. Look, I'm wondering, like, how does natural selection select for, right, not select of the K-type reproductive strategy if it doesn't exist such that natural selection could sense it?
I think you're presupposing that it's like selecting something, or whether like rather than it's just like a happenstance of what happens through genetic testing.
Well, like adaptation is selection for, right?
What do you mean by selection in this case?
So it's like
natural selection.
So hold on. So like whenever genetic mutation and change in allele frequencies is happening, there's no intelligibility or like mind behind that. It's just happenstance. It's just like
I'm talking about natural selection. We agree with natural selection, right?
Well, yeah, natural selection is just a matter of like, okay, these creatures have evolved, and now can they be able to survive in their habitats? And that is, there's no intelligibility behind that. That's just
right. But how do those structures get selected for if they're not adaptive right away? Right. It's not like there's like one mutation, one single nucleotide mutation, such that okay, now there's sexual reproducing organisms. There's like a million steps that need to happen along the way.
Sure, it's like the giraffe, right? Like the ones that can have, like that mutate the longer necks can have access to more food, right? That it's not like an intent. It is a consequence of that mutation that allows that selective strategy.
Yeah,
Well,
like
I grant that. That's just an elongation of a neck, right? That's easy, right? I'm talking about something as sophisticated as sexual reproduction.
Wouldn't it entail the same thing in which certain like populaces of those whatever specific like animals we're talking about in this case, like wouldn't it make more sense like the things that can reproduce will
Never mind.
reproduce?
Joe Bob left. I'm just trolling you guys. I gotta go.
Okay. Have a good day.
Am I wrong, or do certain snails?
wait, what happened? Why did he drop?
Oh, he was trolling us. He was just up here to engage in a dialogue.
Oh,
Yeah, I appreciate because I was like, man, he does seem to have like a pretty good grasp of like the typical conversations about like anti-evolution don't grasp that. I mean, it is an interesting question, but the bow on it is just it's a series of very slow, very long steps